Good evening. An all-out strike by drivers on Southern Rail will go ahead after the High Court ruled the action is legal. 3 walkouts are planned for next week and a further 6 in January.
Naturally, we're very disappointed by today's ruling. The judge acknowledged that such unprecedented industrial action by the ASLEF trade union will cause massive disruption across the network for our travelling public. The judge also acknowledged that the widespread use of driver-only operation is perfectly safe, both across the southern network and across the rest of the UK rail network.
We've had 20 years of privatisation where we've always agreed the methods are working with whoever's been there, whether we agree the model or not. Having our terms and conditions unilaterally changed and told we've got no right to have a say in the safe operation of the railways, I don't believe is the way forward.
Well, commuters have already been affected by months of action, and the latest walkout finishes at midnight. Kerry Swain has been seeing those who've been affected.
My wife particularly is quite worried. It was a little while ago I did get knocked off, and she had to come and pick me up and take me to the hospital. I spent the night in hospital, so I think that's a constant worry to my wife, certainly. Through the winter it's pretty horrendous, to be honest. It's quite dangerous, it's icy, it's dark, you have to dodge cars and deer in this neck of the woods, so I'd much rather be on the train in the winter.
The crisis on the railway is changing lives. MPs in our region say hundreds of constituents have been in touch, warning they're in danger of losing their jobs. One commuter had a new job offer withdrawn when the employer realised she would travel on Southern Rail. Darren Ray moved to Uckfield so he'd be within walking distance of the station, but the service so unreliable he's commuting to Croydon by bike.
I blame the overarching rail company most of all, but I think I've started to lose sympathy with the strikers. It's gone too far, and the people that are losing are the commuters. We pay the fares, we're not getting a service.
It's not just commuters. Robbie Smith is disabled. He depends on the train to get to hospital appointments and visit friends. He describes a journey to Littlehampton from London this week, which took 5 hours and several trains, as the worst experience he's ever had on the railway.
It's very horrid and dire experience. It was cold, the staff were very unhelpful, they didn't have any idea what was happening themselves. We had to change trains at least 3 times. I find the journeys particularly difficult for me because I have slight disabilities, I have an imbalance problem, along with a few other slight disabilities, so I can't stand for a prolonged period of time. So I was waiting by the ticket gates for the announcements on the departure screens. It's just complete and utter shambles.
About half of trains were cut today. Sir Nicholas Soames, the Conservative MP for Mid Sussex, says there's a mood of real anarchy among passengers. Kerry Swain, ITV News.
Allegations of child abuse involving young players at Southampton Football Club took a new twist today. Several other alleged victims have talked about taking legal action against the club. Chris Morn has the latest details.
The focus for the current Southampton squad is on tonight's Europa League tie at St Mary's. But events dating back 3 decades continue to surround the sport. Today, BL claims solicitors who are based at Eastleigh revealed they've been instructed to take legal action on behalf of alleged victims of child abuse.
I think their anger is primarily directed at the person they allege abused them, but there's also some anger against the club. But many of them don't know what the club's involvement was, what the club's awareness was. That's information that I think will come out in due course.
Bob Higgins worked in youth development with Southampton in the 1980s. He's been named in recent allegations, but has always denied any wrongdoing. After leaving Saints in 1989, Mr Higgins was appointed as Youth Development Officer for the Maltese FA, where another allegation of inappropriate behaviour has emerged.
He would not let us sit behind him. We would have to sit on the passenger side at the back so he could look at us through the mirror.
As far as I'm aware, during Mr Higgins' stay in Malta, we never had a whisper of any incident.
After finishing his contract in Malta, Mr Higgins took up other posts in the game, most recently at Fleet Town, where he helped to coach the first team.
Parents are ultimately responsible for their children's safety, but they need to be assured that they're putting them with people who will take that responsibility seriously.
So much of it was so long ago when standards were different, wasn't it? I'm not saying it was right long ago, it wasn't, but people just didn't take much notice of that sort of thing then, did they?
The rocket's gone up and I think people are very concerned about it and people ought to look into this more deeply.
Laurie McMenemy was Southampton's FA Cup winning manager. He left in 1985, but was manager when Bob Higgins began his association with the club. He says he's stunned by the abuse allegations sweeping across the game.
I'm staggered by it. I think anybody in football at my level never dreamt. It would never have happened. You wouldn't have allowed it to happen. As I say, your parents, you would imagine how you would feel if it was your child.
Southampton Football Club say they're working with Hampshire Police to investigate allegations made by former players. Chris Morn, ITV News, Southampton.
A 5-year-old boy and a 52-year-old woman are recovering in hospital after a crash near Winchester. 2 cars collided on Otterbourne Road in Shawford. Police had to close surrounding roads while they investigated. 5 climbers have been rescued from a cliff face in Dorset. The group got into trouble near Swanage. Coast Guard teams abseiled down the cliff and brought each person to safety. Councillors in Brighton and Hove have been discussing how to save £24 million next year. The City Council says it faces its toughest year ever with adult and social services under threat. They're looking at increasing council tax by 6% and cutting 140 jobs. And finally tonight, the £85 million redevelopment at the West Quay Shopping Centre in Southampton is nearly complete. And today, some of the new restaurants have opened. But locals say the constant building work is unbearable, as Richard Slee explains.
It's a racket that's now going on around the clock. For the first time last night, work on the new development at West Quay didn't stop. For residents like George and Max, it's turned into a nightmare. Well, it would be if they could get any sleep. They've lived with noise like this for 18 months, but they say 3 weeks ago it got much worse, with drilling and grinding continuing into the night and on Sundays.
Imagine this at 1 a.m. when you've got to go up at 6 a.m. I don't see how that's fair in any way, so that a big business cannot pay fines because they're behind on their building work.
We've retired from the front of the house altogether. We stay in the back bedroom now, which isn't really ideal. We just have no peace at all anymore.
Back in July, Southampton City Council planners did approve extending the working hours, but Sunday was not included. Since then, the council has received 26 complaints from local residents about noise at unsocial hours. Last week, the council issued the contractor with a breach of conditions notice, and it has 28 days to comply or it could be prosecuted. But by then, the development is likely to be completed. The contractors, Hammerson, say there's nobody available to be interviewed today, but the firm did issue a statement which says to have the first phase of this development open in time for this weekend, it has been necessary to work longer hours than usual. However, over the course of the build, disruption to local residents has been kept to a minimum. George and Max would disagree with that. And as the final festive touches go up and some of the restaurants open their doors to customers for the first time, there's very little Christmas cheer being felt by the development's disgruntled neighbours. Richard Slee, ITV News, Southampton.
Now, what does the weather have in store over the next few days? All the details tonight. Here's Simon Parkin.
From sleet to the slopes, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening, and it's a bedsock-free night tonight because it is exceptionally mild again. Also started off today with a strange purple sky, as Tracy found in Horndean. But the clouds tomorrow, mostly grey, I'm thinking, and it will stay generally overcast. But as the breeze picks up, we're going to keep dragging in that very warm air, so temperatures will still be above where they should be for this point in December. A week where the front's sinking south and eastwards over the next 24 hours, though. Cloud tomorrow, but come Saturday, that's when we'll see some rain on it, some heavy heavy bursts initially, then it's light and drizzly for much of the day. But once that's cleared off into Sunday, we get a ridge of high pressure developing, and Sunday itself will be a better day. Brighter, yes, but also feeling perhaps a little bit cooler too. For tonight, we've got temperatures well up into double figures everywhere, and as well as the cloud, we've also got some mist and murk, some hill fog here and there, odd spots of drizzle too. So won't be a cold start to tomorrow, but it will be a fairly grey one. You might, if you're lucky, see a bit of early brightness towards the west, but generally it's a fairly cloudy picture as we head through the day. The wind strengthening, gusts of around 20-25 miles an hour along the coast, and temperatures once again 11 or 12.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that is all from us for tonight. We are back in Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, and any updates all will be on our website. But from me, from all of us here on the Lake Team tonight, thanks for your company. See you tomorrow. Good night.